Greetings and welcome. So today I wanted to give an update on my writing. I got to the 30,000 word count, which was my halfway goal, and I had the basic plot and I wasn't sure what other scenes I could add. I really had everything that I wanted to happen to my characters happening. I didn't want to just fill it in with random scenes that didn't add to the plot, but I just wasn't sure how exactly I was going to double the word count, because just extending some scenes, I wasn't sure if that was going to be enough. So to sort of go in a different direction and sort of to work out what I wanted in my book, I decided to come up with some chapter titles, because I had the idea to alternate them between sort of references to titles of songs and to books, because I have Brighton really into music and Nate's really into books, so I figured focusing their chapter titles on songs or books would be an interesting way to go, because I kind of wanted each chapter to focus a little bit more on one character and then the next chapter to be focused on the other character, so that it wasn't too much head hopping and things like that. So my point of view is third person omniscient, so I have that sort of, the narrator talks about, sort of describes how the character's feeling and what they're thinking without it being like a direct thought of the character, but I did kind of want to separate out chapters for one to focus on Brighton and the next one to focus on Nate, at least at the beginning, and then as we get further through the plot, it can have sort of scenes focusing on Brighton and then scenes focusing on Nate within the same chapter. I just didn't want it to be sort of like in the same scene, jumping back and forth between what one or the other is thinking, and I felt like that would be a little too confusing, so I kind of wanted to focus each chapter on each character and then later on sort of do scenes focused on each character so that it wasn't too confusing. So I went through some songs and some books that I thought fit the theme of the story and that I thought maybe each character would enjoy, kind of thing. So I came up with the different chapter titles, and then for each chapter I figured out, based on sort of the vibe of that, which chapter that would encompass, like what the plot points would be for each chapter. So I went through and gave a basic outline of each chapter so that I could kind of see how my plot was going. And then from there, I took all the plotting points I learned from Save the Cat Writes a Novel and color-coded each of them, and then took each of the chapter outlines and put them all together so that it was sort of a big basic outline of the whole plot. And then from there, I took the color coding of the plot points, so things like the setup and the catalyst and then the midpoint. That way I had sort of my idea of what part of the story fit what plot points, so that I knew it was in the right order and sort of working out where I wanted to emphasize certain things. So it really helped. I went through, and at one point I thought something a little earlier in the plot was sort of the catalyst, and I realized it was later. So it helped me sort of rearrange and work out the flow of the plot and get things kind of more focused to how I want, and figured out what plot points were sort of which emphasis. So that helped me sort of organize my thoughts into a more cohesive plot. So from there, because I took some of the descriptions and moved them around, I reorganized where the chapters were, and then took the writing I had and filled in the scenes for what happened in each chapter. Because I really just sort of had a dump of scenes written out, and they hadn't gotten into any main order yet. So by having, this happens in this chapter, I could take those scenes and dump them into that chapter, so then the writing was all in a cohesive plot line and it all worked out together, which really helped, because I had sort of current day scenes and then flashback scenes, and they were sort of separate, so it sort of helped to okay, this one goes with that one, and organize it out that way into different chapters so that they all kind of work together. Because there were certain themes in each chapter, so I could take a modern day scene that went with a flashback scene, and those kind of worked thematically together and sort of work it out that way. So then once I had sort of the basic, filled in all my scenes into each chapter, I figured out sort of how long I wanted each chapter, and if I didn't have that many pages, I would leave extra pages blank. So it's okay, so I have 5 pages at this chapter, but I want this chapter to be 10 pages. I would leave 5 blank pages so I could see sort of how big I wanted each chapter, and to see that it would ultimately end up being roughly 200 pages. So that really helped to see kind of okay, so if I do make each of these chapters this length, it works out to the length I wanted it to be. So then it was really nice, because then I had sort of visually where the holes were in my plot. Essentially, I can see, okay, there's five pages in this chapter and 2 pages in that chapter. sort of, and then with the themes, it sort of helped, okay, I need to fill in this information or extend that scene, and it really helped sort of organize my chaos of just scenes here, scenes there, kind of disorganized writing that I was doing, because just to get things written, I was writing random scenes all over the place, and I hadn't really organized it out into a cohesive plot. So this really helped work out where everything should go and how it worked in the plotting of it. So then from there, I could see exactly where I had the gaps and then write in scenes to fill those in. Some of them were entire chapters, because I had the idea, I'm like, okay, I want this to happen in the chapter, but I don't actually have that scene written. So I just wrote entire chapters, and then there were extra scenes in other chapters, or even just take this, make it longer. So I started with full chapters, went to smaller scenes and smaller, kind of filling it out as I go. I felt like it really helped organize my thoughts, because the way I write is very chaotic. So every once in a while I need to take all that chaos and organize it so that I can still make it into something cohesive. Since I had sort of chaotic scenes all over the place, it was good to sort of take all that and organize it a little bit so that I can keep the flow going right where I need. Because it was all over the place, I couldn't see where I needed to add things. So doing this and working out the plotting really helped organize all my thoughts, because I was getting scenes written, but they were just running wild. So I needed to sort of corral them into a nice plot line, and then I had that and I could see exactly where I needed to fill things in. So that really helped. Doing the color coding with, these are the plot points I want to hit, and here's the descriptions of what I have written. Working out how it worked into a plot was really helpful, because I was like, okay, I've got all these scenes, what do I do with them? So giving myself that structure helped sort of organize that so that I could keep moving, because like I said, I had been just writing random scenes, and I was like, I don't know what other random scenes I can add, and I don't want to just add scenes that are empty, that aren't adding to the plot. So it really helped to sort of organize it out into a nice plot flow, so that I knew, okay, I want this to happen, and then that to happen. Okay, then we need this scene, and then those things can happen. So it helped focus what I needed to write next. So I would suggest this kind of method for anybody trying to write. Since I'm such a chaotic writer, and I really feel like most of the time I'm sort of a pantser, I just kind of do whatever, it helps to every so often do a little bit of plotting so that that all works out into an actual story, rather than just scene here, scene there kind of organization I had originally. It did really help for me. It just helps to write anything. Once I was building up more of my story, I was like, okay, now I need to really focus on what needs to be filled in, because I've got enough going on that I don't need to just fill it out. Now I need a plot and to see where my plot holes are. So that really helped give me an actual visual of where the holes were, because I was struggling with everything just sort of floating all around. I couldn't see what needed to be added that was going to work in the plot and not just be extra scenes. Because just to get writing, I was just writing random scenes, but now that I had all those scenes, I wanted to make sure they worked in an actual plot, because at some point this will need to be read by somebody else. That is the goal. So I just wanted to take all that chaotic writing and focus it up, give myself a little bit more direction to what I should be writing next. So I felt like that really helped, and I got a lot more scenes written out and helped me focus on what I wanted emphasized in my story, because it was just sort of, this is what they're doing. And I was like, okay, to make it a story, I want it to, it needs to have certain emphasis on certain points to give it a plot. So I felt like this really helped. So I'm chugging along, and hopefully I'll get to that 60,000 word count goal pretty soon, and then I can start doing my editing and hopefully get it to either editors or beta readers and see how it goes. So I'm very excited. It's coming along, and it's been an interesting journey to figure out how to write a novel, because I've never written one before, and it's like, there's ideas in theory, but it's like, okay, how can I write a novel? Because again, I'm very chaotic. I just sort of write random scenes, and it sort of works out for me, but like, then I need to work out how to, okay, take this chaos and make it a book. It's been an interesting time sort of figuring out what works for me and how I can focus my own chaos into actually writing a full plot. I'll have another update for you guys next month. Let me know what you think about this idea for plotting, if you guys have tried anything similar or what you do to help plot your stories. Let me know down in the comments. And as always, I hope you all have a wonderful day.